Hello, friends! It's Maya Joy. Thank you for being here today, and welcome to my two-part series on communicating with your guides. And if anybody is new here and you're not yet familiar with spirit guides, welcome. The relationship between a soul and their spirit guides is one of my favorite topics in all of spirituality. And yes, everyone listening here today is a soul, and everyone has at least one spirit guide. And most of us have three, and some people have more than that, depending on their life's purpose. Every soul who incarnates and is born into the earth plane has a plan for their life. We all make plans, detailed plans, before we come. And the purpose of the guide, who is another soul, a soul usually without a physical body, but a soul that exists in the place where we all call home. And the guide's job is to help direct us towards our plan. That's why we call them the guide, because they guide us towards those people, experiences, lessons, and loves that we put into our plan for this lifetime. And they do this in subtle ways that I'm going to share about in this series. The guides have to follow a rule, and that is that they are not allowed to make decisions for us or to intervene to make things happen for us. They're not allowed to make the decisions for us, but they are allowed to direct our attention towards the decisions that will be the best for us in hopes that we make those decisions for ourselves. They are allowed to direct, our attention, or direct our emotion, even to make us feel excited about things that are part of our plan, or to make us feel safe in the presence of those who are part of our plan, and all these sorts of things. So what I'm hoping to illuminate here in part one here in this video is some general tips for working with your guides. And then there will be a part two in which I'm going to share a whole bunch of specific real world modern day examples of how your spirit guides communicate with you, or examples of how guides typically are communicating here in the year 2021 and beyond, in case you're listening in the future. But tips for working with your guides. Okay, so first and foremost, talk to your guides. I know it might sound a little bit strange to be corresponding with some spiritual being that you have forgotten. You can't see them with your eyes or hear them with your ears, so it might seem a little strange at first. One thing you should know about your guides is that they already can hear all your thoughts anyway. They already can see everything that you're doing. And this is only for your benefit. It's just to help keep you safe. It's difficult to convey the beauty of a relationship between a soul and their guides, but your guides are typically with you from one incarnation to the next. I know not everybody listening will believe in reincarnation, but your guide is tied to your soul. So no matter where your soul goes, your guide is there. Your guide will know you as a soul better than you even know yourself. They know the real you, they know everything about you, and they love everything about you. So there really is no one better to communicate to than your guides. And no matter what, they're always seeing, picking up on everything that's going on with you. Never have you ever had any thought or feeling that they were not aware of. They know everything. So given that, it actually should be like a very natural thing to talk to your guides. They're always there listening anyway, but they're very happy when you direct your thoughts to them. So to talk to your guides, you can totally talk out loud if you want. Of course, they can hear your thoughts and they don't have physical ears, so you don't have to talk out loud if you don't want to or you don't want to be like that. Some of you listening will know that I am a professional psychic. I've been doing this for like 7 years. Most of the time, I don't talk out loud to my guides, but sometimes I do if I'm just in that kind of mood. But usually the way that I talk to them is I direct thoughts. I kind of put energy behind my thoughts and like direct them towards my guides. An easy way to do this is just to kind of in your stream of thought, put the word guide in front of whatever you're thinking, and then they'll know that you're consciously directing it towards them. Why is this important? Because I just said they perceive everything anyway. Well, when you consciously direct like a question or an inquiry or a request towards them, they will answer it also consciously. So that's why it's important. So, oh my gosh, in a typical day, I pretty much will correspond with my guides inside my stream of awareness the entire time. Occasionally I'll get lost in an activity and forget that my guides are there, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. So let me try to provide some examples. Well, so often my role in this life is to be a messenger for other people. So in my stream of consciousness, I'll say things like, guides. I'll be like, hi guides, how are you today? Thank you so much for the love and joy as I go into this conversation or prepare to make this YouTube video or do this reading. Please, will you like implant in my mind thoughts and ideas that can be used to uplift others? Or please, will you blend your energy with my energy in a way that will infuse my words with like greater harmony, love, or joy? Or and these all, just anything. Sometimes when I know that I'm going to be going into like a difficult situation, I'll say, guides, please help me see this through the highest light, or like, guides, like, please help me to stay calm in this situation, or easily harmonize the energy in this room, or it's just all day. I'm usually asking them for help with benevolent things or benevolent purposes. But if I know that like I have to do something that I'm going to struggle with personally, I'll ask them for additional like fortitude, or just to help me regulate myself like emotionally or things like that, because that's their job. I think that I have an innate understanding of what spirit guides do. And so I tend to ask them to help with sort of things that they're already really good at anyway, such as affecting me or influencing me energetically, helping me emotionally, helping me feel drawn to those things that are for me, all of these kinds of things. Like sometimes I'll be like, guides, hello, like, okay, I know you're giving me all the signs because that's your job and you're so good at it. And they are, oh my goodness. But I'll say, please help me to, please make it so obvious today that I could not possibly miss your signs or stuff like that. And whenever I do that, I will tell you that is exactly what happens. So talk to them, talk to your guides. They are listening. They are listening. I think when it comes to spirit guide communication, the struggle is usually in us attuning ourselves to the language of spirit, because we're so used to like people talking at us all day on earth. And so it can be strange at first to get used to corresponding with a being that is non-physical. However, it is natural. You do know how to do it. Your soul will remember. And with a little practice, you will find that you begin to speak the language of spirit without any trouble at all. Okay, so the next tip is ask your guides to influence your inner world and to guide you from within. I'm not sure why, but when it comes to spirit guide communication, a lot of times people are asking for external signs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but imagine that you are a spiritual being in another reality. Like they are near us, however, vibrationally they're non-physical. So it's much easier for our guides to influence our inner world than it is for them to influence the outer world. Now, this isn't to say that they cannot like create physical world signs, like showing us certain animals, or having us see a particular billboard or sign on the street, or like many people talk about angel numbers, and they can do all of that, but their real specialty is in directing us towards things of significance that are already there. So drawing our attention to particular feelings or signs or things like that in our environment. So it's better to ask them to influence our inner world. Like, for example, dear guides, like when I come across something that represents the person that I am meant to become, please help me to feel very excited towards that thing. Yeah. So like, let's say that you asked your guides to influence you in that way. And then at the store, you were walking around the aisles and you were passing through an aisle, and there was a whole bunch of different stuff like pens and pencils, and you came in front of this like little watercolor palette, and all of a sudden you just felt this spark of like energy and joy. And you turn and look at it and you feel even more like excitement and joy. And then you remember, oh yeah, this morning I asked my guides, like, please help me feel excitement and joy and energy around those things which represent the person I'm meant to become. Whoa. And then I felt this way towards like this painter's palette. Oh my gosh, maybe it means that I am meant to use my creative abilities in this life, or like whatever. But it kind of works like that. So ask them to influence your inner world. Or like if you get stuck in a relational thing, like you always feel frustration or judgment or something like that towards another person. So many of us would be tempted to ask the guides to change that person's behavior. They can't really do that because that goes against the law of free will that they have to follow. But what they can do is they can help us to feel differently towards that person, which is an easier way to solve that particular life problem. So ask them to influence your inner world. Dear guides, like, please help me to see this in a new way. Dear guides, please help me feel patience, calm, serenity, harmony when I interact with or see this person this time. Please help me see myself, see others in the way that you see us, or like different things like this. This is their realm of expertise when you allow them to work in the way that they are allowed to work. It's unfortunate because a lot of people will think, oh, my guides are not there for me because I asked them to do this or that. I asked them to get me this job or this parking spot or blah, 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 blah. And they can't always do that. They cannot interfere with the physical free will of you or anybody else. So you'll find that when you start asking them to do things that they're allowed to do, they do it 100% of the time. So ask them to influence your inner world. Ask them to influence your inner world, and then stay super, super open to being directed. You kind of have to ask and then let go a little bit and allow yourself to be directed. And it's something that you get better at with practice. But in order for any of this to happen, you must believe that it can happen. We have to kind of set aside, and we should always remain grounded and centered in this reality, but you have to set aside a little bit the skepticism and start to be led from within. Because that's how they work with us, from within. So the next tip is, when you are stuck, ask them to help you see things in a new way. So often we can ask our guides or pray to them, please fix this problem. Change this outcome. And sometimes they can do that. It's like sometimes they can, especially if it's like a matter of life or death or something really serious like that. That is when they can actually move mountains. But if it's just something that's like a little inconvenient or making us a little bit uncomfortable, but is ultimately like for our growth, it's much better to ask them to help us see things in a new way. Like if there's a repetitive pattern, a relational pattern, or something that we're facing, or we feel like we're trying to do the same thing over and over again, or go after the same goal over and over again, and we're constantly coming up short, we're constantly failing, it isn't working out, often it's because it's not meant to be. And so it's like not a part of your plan, or it's not meant to be. So if you keep asking your guides, hey, make this thing happen for me, but it's not meant to be because it's going to take you away from your path, ultimately they're not going to make it happen for you because it's not in the highest good. So the best thing that you can do, like if you come across a situation like that where you're just like up against the wall over and over and over again, and you're wanting help from your guides, ask them to help you see things in a new way. Like, spirit guides, I've been pushing towards this particular outcome, and it's just not working, and I'm so upset and I'm so frustrated. Please help me see things in a new way or feel a different way about this. They'll love that. They'll absolutely love it if you ask them to do something like that, and they will do it. And there's a lot of ways that they can do that, which is going to be like the topic of video 2, but ask them to help you see things in a new way. Please help me see the divine plan behind all of this. Please help me see why I find myself in this situation. Please help me see things through the eyes of this person or that person. Most of us walk around a lot of the time believing that our vantage point in life is the correct one. However, it's not as simple as that. So often the quickest way to feel better is for us to shift the ways that we are seeing things. Our way of seeing things often makes sense or is correct based on our life experiences, but just remember there's so many variations in life experience and perspectives that can be had on the earth plane. And so often shifting our perspective allows us to have a breakthrough, and the guides love to help us have those personal breakthroughs and to get back on track. In a bigger way, we're always on track, but sometimes we get fixated on particular things that might be like objectives that we had in past lives or like stuff like that. And it just isn't relevant for us like in this lifetime, and we can just get fixated. And what we really need is to forget about that particular thing and focus our attention on something else. And the guides will definitely help to make that happen whenever we're ready. And this is one area where I am so appreciative of my own guides, because one of the ways that I've noticed them working with me the most is every way, but like one of the ways is they bring information to me. Whenever I've learned enough about a subject and I'm kind of just like at that point just analyzing the same information over and over again, I'll be like, okay guides, like I'm ready to expand my awareness, like please bring me a new understanding. And like that same day or like the next day, I'll be given the next understanding to help me expand beyond what I had known up until that point. And it is so helpful, and it's amazing. It's always perfectly timed. It's really incredible. The guides are very, very, very good at what they do. And typically they've incarnated on Earth many times, and they've had life experiences and gifts of their own soul that are really similar to the ones that like you have as well. So your guide is typically really similar to you. They're just they've just been working at the themes long enough that they actually achieved those particular earth-based objectives, and now they're helping you achieve them too, so that you can have the experience that enlivens your soul. So that's kind of how it goes. Another tip is thank your guides for the moments where you really do feel their guidance. And I will say, like, some days are going to be better than others. Some days, because some days are more meant to be. That's the truth. Like, in our life plans, there are certain days or weeks or even months that are periods of very heightened activity where a lot of things happen that get us on our path. And then there are other times where it's more a time of like integration or rest, and there's not as much happening. It's just not as active of a time. But when you're in one of those active times and there's all these signs coming through everywhere that are, you know, whether it's internal or in your environment, people are saying it to you, you're seeing the synchronicities, all this kind of stuff, and it's like pushing you in a new direction that you're afraid to go, but you go there anyway because there's so much guidance and there's so many signs. Those are the moments to say thank you. Thank you, spirit guides. I have received your message. I and a number of my friends who are also on the spiritual path kind of have a rule with our guides, which is if something's really important, give it to me 3 times. Like, give me the message in 3 different ways. So one way could be, for example, like an indication in my astrology chart or something like that that says, oh, this is meant to be. And then another one could be I come across like a book or something like that on the topic that says exactly what I'd always felt in my heart or something, and I just get chills throughout my body. And then another sign could be within like that same, say, week or something like that, someone tells me, hey, you know, I had a dream of you doing this thing and I really feel like you should. And that could be like 3 signs. But when the signs like come like that and you receive them and everything else, say thank you. Like, say thank you, guides. Like, I received your message. And it's not like that they need to be thanked. Like, they don't have ego like that. They don't need to be recognized. But when we say it out loud like that, or we direct our attention and say like, thank you for the signs, I got the signs, it kind of like expands our energy around that. It also helps us to remember in the future what it feels like to be in divine flow and communication with spirit. And so it's really beneficial for us to remember the feeling. I love thanking my guides. I really do. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad they're there. I would never come here without them. And it's not because I don't love Earth. I do, but without guides, it would just be really difficult to navigate the Earth plane. It would be really challenging to accomplish our objectives. So thank goodness that they're there to help us find our way in a sea of so many distractions and possibilities. Okay. When you've asked for guidance repeatedly and it seems like the problem is persisting, just give it a little time. Like I said, our guides don't really miss anything. Occasionally in life, we're in difficult situations that are a part of our life plan, and we're meant to struggle through those situations and overcome them. And there's something that we're gaining spiritually by knowing that we did it and we overcame the challenge or things like that. Or sometimes we're meant to grow through the experience of living through uncertainty for a time before having a personal breakthrough. So sometimes, like, if you feel like you're asking, and you already asked, can please help me see this in a new way, and things are still persisting as they are, just give it a little time. Just let it go for a month or a couple months or something like that, and then revisit. Because occasionally those difficult things are meant to be. And in those cases, I think it can be better to ask the guides to help to like soothe you. Like, please help me to have the patience or have serenity in spite of this challenge. Please help me see the blessings in this situation and feel the blessings in this situation as I move through this difficult time in my life. Those sorts of things, and they can help you in that way. Oh my goodness. The next tip is have fun. Like, have fun. Spirit communication is enjoyable. Like, it's meant to be enjoyable. So laugh and have a good time. Like, remember that you're essentially like trying to speak a foreign language. Like, you're actually trying to communicate, with silent beings. They're incredible at telepathy. They're great at putting their thoughts and ideas in your mind and hearing yours and stuff like that. But still, it's a little bit, it's kind of a, very interesting situation. It's kind of like trying to learn Japanese or Chinese or Arabic or something. Now, maybe you already speak all those languages, but you'll know what I mean. It's like there's a lot of translation required. Sometimes, like, a message can get lost in translation. When that happens, just laugh it off. Have fun. Spirit communication is a lot like, in terms of a frequency, it's kind of similar to like daydreaming or imagination. It's not the same thing, but it feels very similar to that. So like your guides can implant, and they do this far more than anyone really recognizes, or most people recognize. But most of our good ideas, really good ideas, come from our guides when we allow our mind to relax. So whatever relaxes your mind, where you feel like your mind can kind of like wander, is going to be good for getting your brainwaves like attuned to spirit. So for me, I find that, well, I'm not a great example because I correspond with spirit all day, but times that I feel very, very connected and receptive to visions or ideas just coming into my awareness from my guides, include when I'm in the shower. That's like definitely a big one, because when we're in the shower, well, now anymore people bring their phones in the shower and listen to videos and stuff like that, but generally it's like a quiet time, or just like little times, like if I like just take out the trash or things like that, where there's kind of just like no distractions and my mind is like free. It's not trying to solve any problems or anything like that. And that is when the guides will really come through really, really strongly. Another time, of course, is like when you're sleeping, or just like waking up in the morning. But yeah, enjoy the process. My guides make me laugh all the time. I swear there are so many moments. They'll tell me what people are thinking, and it'll be really, really funny. Or they help me see different people in my life, like my friends, my family, even myself, through their eyes. And it's just so much love, and it's just so much joy. And I sometimes usually this happens at home, but occasionally it'll happen in public. I will just be laughing so hard I'll get like tears because of what the guides are saying to me. My personal guides are very funny. They're very funny and they're very joyful, and it's so wonderful to be in connection with them. In my case, like, because I am in connection with my guides all the time, it's kind of like a best friend. So I don't have to be like super formal with them and like come, and not to say this is a wrong way to be, to each their own, but like I don't necessarily come to them very often with like, a serious tone and say, okay, like I come to you, spirit, with this request. I will if it feels like really seriously, but for the most part, my guides know like where I need to be guided, what I'm exploring at any given time, because I'm always talking to them about it. And so I find it to be very, very much a streamlined process of communication. It really is. It's like having like a best friend who's also your roommate. That's how I feel about my guides. Like they're always there. And we're always in conversation. And whenever, like, I realized recently, I start to get like a little unsettled, like if say more than an hour and a half goes by or something and I haven't heard anything from my guides, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh no, like, guides, what do you have to say? And they're just like, oh yeah, everything is going well. Like there's not any, today's just one of those days, like today just exists, just be in a space of love. That's all. There's nothing more to do than that. Or, and it's like, okay. But yeah, I just wish for everyone to have a closer relationship with their guides, because it's good for all involved. The guides, that's their job. Like, they're here to assist you. And, not everybody is meant to correspond with spirit that closely. Some people want to forget and just be very materially focused, and that's fine. But for those who want the relationship with their guides, you might as well have it. They love you more than you could imagine. You love them. They have your plan memorized and know exactly what's going to be best for you and how to keep you safe. And I think the biggest benefit that I found, like, from working with my guides is just that I waste a lot less energy, because there used to be a lot of things that I would do and they weren't like going to be harmful for me. But they also weren't like necessary for my development and evolution. So I would waste a lot of energy spinning my wheels, like doing things, researching things, having relationships that like were just neutral. They weren't completely necessary for my plan, but they also weren't harmful. So now I only do what my guides recommend and nothing more. So my life is like a lot simpler. I take as much opportunity as I can to spread kindness and joy and stuff like that. But in terms of my own like personal hobbies and activities, I'll just tune in with my guides and say, is this really necessary? Is this in the highest good? Is this something I should be doing today? And if there's no energy around it and it's not a yes, then I just don't do it. And so I have like so much more peace and serenity. And as a matter of fact, like this very video, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do this today, but my guides told me to do it 3 times. I thought I might be too tired to do this and it wouldn't be a good video, but they said yes, yes, and then yes again. So I said, all right, let's do it. So that's why I'm doing this today. So I guess it's meant to be for today. But yeah, I consult them for everything pretty much. I pretty much do. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I don't listen. Sometimes like, and then it always turns out as they will say, but I've noticed that they're willing to guide me, for absolutely every little thing. Even the smallest things. I'm thinking of a recent example where like I made coffee to drink and I wanted to drink it. I took it off the stove and I was like, I really want to drink this right now. I was like feeling like really impatient, and they were like, it's very hot. It's very hot. Like you might want to wait. And I was like, I don't want to wait. Like, I want to have this experience. And they're like, it's going to burn your mouth. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I want to have this coffee right now, like, cause I'm curious, like what it tastes like. I don't want to add anything to it. I don't want to add any cream or anything else. And they said, okay, go on. And so I did. Like, I drank it and it burned me, like, just like they said. But I said, you know what? It's okay. Like, I chose that experience. But just to give you guys an idea, like, that's like the level of like communication I have with my guides. Sometimes, more often it happens in the direction where I want to do something to help other people and they say no. They'll be like, I'll say, is it in the best good for me to like call this person right now or help them with this? And they'll be like, no, Maya, it's not. And I'll be like, what? Like, isn't it always in the best good to help someone like in this way? And they'll be like, no, it's not. And then sometimes I'll be like, well, I don't care. Like, I want to do it anyway. And then like the person won't be available because they're like too distracted or their mind is blown by like whatever I said or something because they weren't ready. And I just realized the guides were right. They're always right. That's their job, to be right. But that's why it pays to follow your intuition, because there are beings there that are directing your intuition who can see everything. Not everything, like there may be some facets of God that are still slightly alluring to them, but in terms of like our earth-based lives, like they can see the big picture, like they can see like past, present, future, like they understand. So like might as well listen to them, and they can perceive things that go beyond our 5 senses or even 6th sense. Okay, so 2 more things. I kind of alluded to this already, but when working with your guides, keep the interventions focused on you, not other people. Your guide is committed to you. Do they know, like, people around you? You bet they do. Does your guide also have some kind of intimacy or familiarity with your mother? Yeah. Your spouse or lover? Yeah. Why? Because they are an expert in you. So they have like some familiarity with the people that are close with you. They may not have a lot of familiarity with people that are like strangers on your path, but people that are close to you, they know them too. They've met them and they understand them. But they're not allowed to intervene in the path of anyone. They're allowed to intervene within your inner world. In some cases, the guides might give a sign to a stranger, not a stranger, it's a soulmate of yours or something like that. But that is a different realm, and that is something that you would experience only probably a couple of times in your life, if ever, would be someone else's guides coming to you. But I'm not going to say it's unheard of, because occasionally it can happen. Okay, but like it's definitely not like common day practice. So in the common day, ask for interventions that focus on you, not on other people. So for example, like let's say you want to get a job. It's not going to be best to ask your guides, hey guides, please help that manager to choose me. Please make them choose me. I'm the best. A better sort of request would be, dear guides, please direct my vibration and words in a way that will make me a very attractive candidate to the manager. Okay, so you're asking for help with you. Please help me to behave in a way that affects this other person in the direction that I'm hoping for. Does that make sense? Rather than, please make this person do this or that. Please help me to find a way to communicate with blah, 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 whoever it so happens to be, in a way that helps us together to break through this pattern of blank. So keep it focused on you. And that's going to be the best. That is definitely going to be the best. Yeah. It's so hard for me to not talk about exceptions to the rule, but I want you guys to have a clear understanding. So just keep it focused on you. Keep it focused on you. Keep it focused on you. If somebody is like your absolute like soul sister or brother, something like that, and you get the sense that you're part of the same soul family, then you could have like a shared guide that might be assisting both of you. But still, it's best to make requests that are focused on you. You can ask the guides to send healing or love to others, but they may not be able to do that because they would have to seek the approval of that person's guides. So one, like your guide can't like subvert the guidance of another guide. Does that make sense? They can't act in a way that the other guide doesn't approve of. So I know that's pretty specific, but you guys may be interested. So my final tip in working with your guides is just slow down and remove distractions. You need quiet time every day to correspond with the guides. It's difficult for them to get your attention when your attention is always wrapped up in something else. And I can be just as, guilty of this as anybody else. But if you are always listening to music or, watching something or doing 10 things at once, your guides could be giving you all the signs and all the feelings and everything, and you could be missing all of it because your attention is too scattered. So take time where you remove distractions. And it doesn't even have to be a lot of time. I mean, the guides are amazing. Just take little bits of time if that's all you have. For example, like when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, just try to keep your mind still. Go on little walks, like take a little walk during a break at work around wherever you are, if you're working from home, take a walk around the block. Like take these little times where there's no distractions, and you'll find your guides are right there. Even just taking with your eyes closed, sometime like in the morning before you get up or things like that. Don't fall asleep, but just keep your mind open. Allow visions to come into your awareness, representing the highest outcome or tips for the day. And your guides, they will work with you. Everybody's guides will work with them in the way that is best. So take a little time and experiment with connecting to your guides and see how do they work best with you. My guides put a lot of like scenes or pictures in my head because I'm very visual. So, you know, if I have a question like, who should I connect to or where should I go? They'll just put a picture of like the person or the place or the thing right inside my mind, and then it'll just be very clear. Okay, that's the one. But they also communicate with me in terms of giving me feelings about things which are going to be best for that particular day. By the way, it's best to keep it focused on the right in the moment that you're in or the day that you're in, rather than the future. Just wait until you get to that future moment to seek the guidance for that moment. It's best to just keep it one day at a time. But your guides may communicate with you mostly through whatever channel that's the most open for you. So it could be feelings in your body, like chills. It could be emotions. It could be in the thought realm or the guiding you to information realm, or it could be visual realm or things like that. But you'll find your way. You'll find your way. Just try to keep note of successful communications that you've had with your guides, and that'll give you an idea about what will be best in the future. So I hope you all have enjoyed part 1 of tips for working with your guides, and stay tuned for part 2 coming soon with specific examples of spirit guide communication in modern times. Thank you all for listening today. I hope that this has helped you improve your relationship with your spirit guides. Thank you again. Many blessings and namaste.